This is the sound of a city giving up. It should have been the sound of a war ending. Eight years earlier, a different city. A girl sold to a warlord by her own brother, fitted for a wedding she never agreed to. She had no army, no name worth fearing, no fire. So how does a girl who freed every slave she ever met end up burning a city that had already dropped its swords? The answer was never madness. She did not snap. The answer is that we watched it happen for 8 years, and every brick was laid in plain sight, while we called it heroism. Every brick. To understand the queen who burned the world, we have to go back to the girl who was once afraid of everything. Before the dragons, before the fire, before the crown, there was a girl who owned nothing. Not even herself. Pentos, a free city across the narrow sea. Here, a Targaryen prince keeps the last living relic of his house, his sister, Daenerys. She is 16, exiled, and entirely his to spend. Viserys does not see a sister. He sees a price. A silken gown, a borrowed bath, a body inspected like livestock at market. Every kindness is an investment, and the dividend is an army.
You don't want to wake the dragon, do you?
No.
Remember that phrase, wake the dragon. To Viserys, it is a threat, the proof of his blood, his birthright, his rage. He will say it until the day it kills him. His sister is listening. The buyer is Khal Drogo, warlord of 40,000 Dothraki. The currency is Daenerys. She is sold into a marriage she did not choose, to a man whose tongue she cannot speak, on a cliff at the edge of the world. A Dothraki wedding without 3 deaths is thought a dull one. She watches men kill each other for sport at her own feast and learns the first lesson of her new world. Power is the only language anyone respects. And then a gift. 3 petrified dragon eggs, ages turned to stone, green, cream, and black, out of the Shadowlands beyond Ashai. A dead souvenir of a dead house. She cradles one like a child. Nobody at that feast believes the eggs are anything but stone, including her. Especially her. Her wedding night is not a union. It is a surrender, performed on a darkening cliff while she weeps. This is the floor of her life. Everything she becomes, she builds upward from here. The Khalasar moves east. Blistered hands, dried horse meat, a language of grass and horses. The exiled princess could break, many would. Instead, she begins, quietly, to study the world that owns her. She learns the Dothraki word for each thing. She learns her husband. She decides, in a candle-lit tent, that she will not be taken. She will choose. The smallest act of will, and the first she has ever been allowed. And the power, once tasted, does not stay small. When a Dothraki warrior whips a slave woman, the Khaleesi orders the entire horde to halt. 40,000 riders. One word from the girl who owned nothing. She is carrying a child. To the Dothraki, a blessing from the great stallion. To Daenerys, the first thing in her life that is entirely her own. To Viserys, one more rival for an inheritance he believes is his. Viserys cannot bear it. His sister has a braid, a husband, a Khalasar. He has a hand he must keep raising, so he raises it once too often. She does not cower. She takes up a heavy bronze belt and lays his face open. The sold girl has found that she can strike back, and she means it.
The next time you raise a hand to me will be the last time you have hands.
Hear what she promises. Not a slap returned, a mutilation. The threat is calm, specific, and final. The instinct is already there. Season 1 only files the edges off it. In Vast Othrak, the priestesses set a test. To prove the strength of her unborn son, the Khaleesi must eat the raw heart of a stallion and keep it down. A trial designed to break a Pentoshi girl. She does not break. Blood-streaked and radiant, she lifts a fist and names her son Rhaego. The Dothraki proclaim him the stallion who mounts the world. Daenerys hears something else, a future she is owed. The first seed is planted here, in Vast Dothrak, and she does not even have to lift a hand. Viserys has waited too long for an army that will never come. Drunk, ruined, desperate, he draws a sword in the sacred city and demands the crown he was promised.
No! No! You cannot touch me! I am the dragon! I am the dragon! I want my crown! Ah!
Drogo agrees. He will give Viserys a crown. A king should have one. The Blood Riders snap his arm. A cauldron is set over the fire. And Daenerys watches her brother understand, far too late, exactly what he asked for.
Daddy, please!
A crown for a king.
Molten gold poured over a living head. Her brother screams that he is the dragon, and the fire answers. She watches every second of it.
Khaleesi.
He is no dragon. Fire cannot kill a dragon.
Mark that line. It is the thesis of her whole life. Fire cannot kill a dragon, so a man fire could kill was never a dragon, never a true king. She has just learned what fire does to a false king. She will not forget. For one season, she is happy. A husband who swears to cross the sea for his son. A Khalasar that follows her word. And then, in a burning Lazarene village, the world begins to take it all back. She claims the captured women as her own, to spare them. A Blood Rider challenges Drogo for it. He wins the fight and walks away with a small cut across his chest. A scratch. Nothing. The hinge of everything. The wound festers. Drogo sways and falls from his horse. And to the Dothraki, a Khal who cannot ride is no Khal at all. The 40,000 who feared him begin, quietly, to drift away. Jorah begs her to run. She refuses. She is Khaleesi. Her son will be Khal. And so she turns to the one power left to her. Mirri Maz Duur, the captured god's wife. The healer she once thought she had saved. Blood magic carries a price. A life for a life. Daenerys orders the ritual begun anyway, and learns too late that magic always charges more than it quotes. Inside the tent, she goes into labor. She wakes to the bill. Her son Rhaego was born dead, scaled like a lizard, wings like a bat, his skin sloughing at a touch. The child who was her own, the one thing nobody could sell, is gone. And Drogo lives, if you can call it living. A breathing shell, eyes empty, the man burned out of him. She asks the Magi when he will be the man he was.
When will he be as he was?
When the sun rises in the west, sets in the east. When the seas go dry, when the mountains blow in the wind like leaves.
It is a cruelty dressed as a prophecy. Daenerys learns the Magi betrayed her on purpose, payment for a temple burned, a people slaughtered, by the very Khalasar Daenerys rode with. Mercy, she learns, is not always repaid. So she ends it herself. A pillow pressed gently to a face that no longer knows her. Then she builds her husband a pyre and binds the Magi who deceived her to the top of it, alive.
I am Daenerys Stormborn, of House Targaryen, of the blood of old Valyria. I am the dragon's daughter, and I swear to you that those who would harm you will die screaming. You will not.
She frees Drogo's slaves. She names her enemy's fate. And then she does the thing no one survives. With 3 stone eggs at her feet, Daenerys Targaryen walks into the fire. Jorah refuses to watch her burn. The fire takes the pyre, the corpse, the screaming Magi, and from inside the walls of flame, a sound nobody can explain. The chirruping of something alive. Dawn. The ash settles. Jorah finds her sitting naked in the embers, unburnt. 3 newborn dragons clinging to her body. The surviving Dothraki fall to their knees. The world has just changed, and so has she. Fire was the first thing in her life that ever obeyed her. Not her brother, not her husband, not the Dothraki. Fire. Act 1 ends with a girl who has lost everything. No army, no home, no husband, no son, no brother. She has 3 dragons and a single, simple lesson. Fire obeys her. The rest of this story is what she does with that. They will call this her finest hour. A continent unchained, a queen adored. Watch closely. This is also where the rot begins. Act 1 left her unburnt, with 3 newborn dragons and nothing else. The fire is gone. What remains is a desert called the Red Waste, a starving Khalasar, and 3 creatures too small to feed themselves. Her last horses die under her. She sends 3 riders to find the edge of the world. One comes back, his head returned in a saddlebag. The woman who will break a continent cannot yet save a single man. Mark the floor she is standing on. Powerless, again. Everything that follows is a climb out of this desert, and she will climb it on the backs of other people. Remember that. It matters later. Salvation arrives as a city. Qarth, the greatest city that ever was or will be, the merchants say of themselves. Behind its great brass gates, water, food, and 100 men who want her dragons. The Qartheen do not bow, and they do not fear her. They flatter, they bargain, they wait. To them, she is a curiosity with 3 lizards, an unproven stranger to be turned away into the desert to die. So she makes them a promise. When her dragons are grown, she tells the richest men alive she will burn their cities to the ground. And Qarth first. They take it for the bluster of a desperate girl. It is not. Inside the gates, she petitions kings for ships and is refused, again and again. Qarth teaches her one cold lesson. Wealth and words do not move men. And then Qarth shows her what does. Her dragons are stolen. Her bloodriders and handmaids are slaughtered in Xaro's halls, blood smeared down the marble. The warlocks of Qarth take the only family she has left, and they take it to draw her in. To get them back, she walks alone into the House of the Undying, the Warlock's Tower, a place that kills with sorcery, not steel. Inside, the building stops being a building. It becomes her own mind. A door opens onto the throne room of the Red Keep, the seat of the Seven Kingdoms, the thing she has wanted her whole life. And it is a ruin, the roof torn open, ash drifting down through the wreck of the hall. She walks the length of the broken hall. She reaches out a hand toward the Iron Throne, and she does not touch it. She turns away into the snow. The vision will not let her have it. Not yet. Not like this. Remember this room. The broken ceiling, the falling ash, the throne she cannot bring herself to touch. The story has just shown her the end. Hold it. We will stand here again. Most read the vision as triumph deferred, a throne waiting at the end of a long road. Read it again. The hall is destroyed. The kingdom she means to win is rubble, and the snow falling on it is ash. The House of the Undying offers her ghosts. Drogo, her dead son, a warm tent, a life she lost. She names it for what it is. Dark magic, a cage built of everything she loves. And she walks out of it. She finds her dragons chained to an altar. The warlock binds her wrists beside them. Eternity together, he promises. He has miscalculated. She has 3 children now, and she has one word.
Dracarys.
One word, and 3 small dragons answer with fire. The warlock burns. The chains shatter. This is the first time we hear it, and it works. The lesson of Qarth, learned in full. Fire moves men. Nothing else does. She leaves Qarth with a single small ship, bought with a thief's fake gold. Her enemies she seals alive inside an empty vault. She is still almost nothing, but she has decided what kind of nothing she will be. A year passes at sea. The dragons grow. Too slowly, she says. She needs an army now. So she sails to Slaver's Bay, to a city built on a single trade. Astapor, the city that sells soldiers. The Unsullied. 8,000 soldier-slaves drilled past the edge of fear. To earn his shield, each one must murder a newborn in front of its mother. A slaver slices a man's nipple off to show her he will not flinch. On the walk of punishment, she passes slaves, crucified and left to die in the sun. Her knights beg her to leave. She climbs up and gives a dying man water, and tells them clearly where her line is drawn.
Is done.
The blood of my enemies, not the blood of innocents.
Hold that sentence. The blood of her enemies, never the blood of innocents. It is a promise she makes to herself, out loud, with witnesses. The whole of this story is the slow erosion of that one line. To buy the army, she offers the slaver the price he cannot refuse, her largest dragon. Jorah is horrified. The slaver, Krasny's, takes the cage, hands her the whip that commands 8,000 men, and insults her in a tongue he thinks she cannot speak. The third seed is not a crown or a fire. It is a single word, and the moment it leaves her mouth, it stops being a word and becomes a weapon.
Zadrizes buzdaris kosdaur.
A dragon is not a slave. The trade was a trap, and the slaver built it himself. She speaks Valyrian. She always could. She gives the order in his own language, and then she gives her dragon one word.
Dracarys.
Krasnus burns where he stands. The Unsullied turn on their masters. Astapor is sacked in an afternoon. It is, on its face, a liberation. But notice the mechanism. A city emptied of life on the strength of one spoken word. Then she does the thing the slavers never imagined.
Dov'è Gavis? Jemut Clivesori. Keso Tubi. Jemut Tiveri Depan. Hendo Jagun Charles lui vali miri. Hendo Jagun Costas. Doi rivali Sirio Trikilsa.
They choose her. That is the difference. For now. A freed soldier keeps the slave name he was given the day she freed him. Grey Worm. He keeps it for luck. The chains come off, but their shape stays. Liberation, it turns out, is a longer thing than a single afternoon. There is a next city, because there is always a next city. Yunkai. 200,000 slaves inside its yellow walls, and to Daenerys, that is 200,000 reasons to take it. A Yunkish envoy offers her gold and ships to simply leave. She offers him a counter: free every slave or share Astapor's fate. Her dragon snatches the gold from his chest. The negotiation is over before it begins. Yunkai has hired sellswords, the Second Sons, 2,000 blades. One of their captains, Dario, kills the other two in their sleep, lays their heads at her feet, and kneels. The cities fall. The men come over. It is all going so well. 3 men slip through a back gate. The slave soldiers throw down their spears. Yunkai opens without a battle. By now her titles need their own breath to recite. Stormborn, Unburnt, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons. And then comes the image the whole world remembers. The freed slaves of Yunkai pour out of the gates, a tide of them, tens of thousands, and they come looking for the woman who unchained them. She tells them the truth most rulers never would. Your freedom is not mine to give. It was never mine to give. It belongs to you. If you want it, you must take it for yourselves. And the crowd answers her with a single word.
Misa!
Misa!
Misa, Old Giscari for mother. She walks unarmed into a sea of strangers, and they lift her off her feet, held up by the hands of the people she has freed, her dragons turning in the sky above her. Let it land. It is meant to. It is the most beloved she will ever be. So fix this frame in your memory, because this is the highest she will ever stand. Everything after this is a descent, and she will be the last to know. There is one city left in Slaver's Bay, the greatest of the 3, Meereen. And the masters of Meereen have heard what she did to Astapor, so they greet her on the road with a message of their own. Every mile of the road into Meereen is marked with a crucified child, a slave nailed up pointing the way, 163 of them. The masters mean it to break her nerve. She does the opposite. She looks at every face. She wins the city the way she wins everything now, by speaking past the rulers to the ruled. She tells the slaves of Meereen who their real enemy is. Then she sends barrels of broken chains over the walls, and the city breaks itself open from the inside. Meereen falls. The slaves chant her name below the Great Pyramid. And then her newest, most loyal advisor, Barristan Selmy, asks her for one thing. For the captured masters, mercy. Sometimes, he says, it is better to answer injustice with mercy.
I will answer injustice with justice.
Justice. Hear the word she chooses. For 163 crucified children, 163 crucified masters, nailed up along the same road, left to die in the same sun, an exact and answering cruelty. The fourth seed is the quietest. It is the first time her justice and her cruelty stand on the same road, wearing the same face, and almost no one notices. A crucified child is a horror. A crucified master is justice, or so the word she chose insists. But the road looks the same in both directions. The bodies hang the same way. Symmetry is not the same thing as justice. She no longer hears the difference. When a noble later asks her plainly, is it justice to answer one crime with another? She has no answer that satisfies him or us. The question will follow her out of this act and into the next.
Is it justice to answer one crime with another?
So she stops conquering. She decides to stay in Meereen and rule it, to prove she can hold a city, not just shatter one. It is the right decision. It is also the moment the descent stops being a fall and becomes a slow, grinding, settling of weight. Act 2 ends with a queen at her summit. 3 cities freed, an army that loves her, a continent calling her mother, and 5 seeds in the ground: the crown, the pyre, the word, the ruined throne, the answering cross. Act 3 is where they begin to grow. She had broken every chain in Slaver's Bay. Now she would learn the harder thing, that breaking a city and ruling one are not the same. Meereen, the last and greatest city of Slaver's Bay, and the prize she chose to keep. From the top of its great pyramid, Daenerys is a queen at last. Not a wanderer, not a widow. A queen with a throne, a city, a people. But a freed city is not a grateful city. In the streets below, the old masters do not surrender. They go quiet, and they go masked. They call themselves the Sons of the Harpy, and they begin to kill. A dead soldier, a gold mask laid on the body like a signature. Daenerys studies it across the council table and hardens. She does not yet understand what she is looking at, not a crime, but an insurgency. Her instinct is the instinct of a conqueror. Angry snakes lash out, she says, and snakes that lash out are easier to behead. Find the killers. It is the answer of a woman who knows how to win a war, not keep a peace. It is here, with the city turning against her, that an old knight asks for a private word. Sir Barristan Selmy served 3 kings. The first was her father. He has never spoken of him. Now he must.
That king gave his enemies the justice he thought they deserved, and each time it made him feel powerful and right.
Aerys II, the Mad King. He murdered sons in front of their fathers. He hoarded wildfire beneath his own capital. His war on dissent became the rebellion that nearly ended their bloodline. This is the inheritance no one let her forget. I am not my father, she says. And she means it. But the old knight answers carefully. The Mad King also gave his enemies the justice he believed they deserved. The warning is not about cruelty. It is about certainty. Then the test arrives, exactly as a test should. Small, ugly, and impossible. Her followers capture a son of the Harpy. Before he can stand trial, a freedman named Massador kills him in his cell and lays the murder before her like a gift. Massador calls her Misa. He killed for her, in her name, for the city she freed. And Daenerys makes the choice a ruler must make, and a liberator cannot. She says, "The law is the law. He will die." On a public platform above Meereen, she gives the order in Valyrian. The crowd that once chanted Misa watches an unsullied blade come down on a man who loved her. And then the chant turns. They hiss. They throw stones. It is the first lesson of governing, and she has just learned how much it costs. Justice does not buy love. The masters hate her. Now the freedmen hate her too. The mother of dragons stands alone in her own pyramid, and the wind howls. Drawn out onto the terrace by a sound she knows, she finds Drogon. Vast now, a creature of myth perched on her parapet. She reaches for him. He screeches, and he is gone. Even her dragons will not be ruled. Her other two dragons she keeps chained. In a black crypt beneath the pyramid, Rhaegal and Viserion rear up and breathe fire at the mother who locked them away. She came to comfort her children. They drive her back up the stairs. A dragon queen with no dragons, Daario tells her, is no queen at all. It is the cruelest truth in Meereen, and she cannot answer it. The fire she once commanded has slipped its leash. All of it. And so she reaches for compromise, the one tool a liberator distrusts most. The masters want their fighting pits reopened, the arenas where men are bought and bled for sport. Once she called it human cockfighting and refused. Now she goes down to the cell where the man she nearly executed kneels in terror. And she tells him she was wrong. The pits will reopen. To bind the city, she will marry into it and let free men die in the sand for show. She frames it as courage, the courage to admit a mistake. But watch what has happened. The woman who broke the slave trade has reopened its theater and married its tradition, because ruling honestly was losing her the city. There is, of course, another way, and the men around her keep offering it. Daario tells her plainly, gather every master at the games and slaughter them all. End the insurgency by ending the suspects.
I am a queen, not a butcher.
A queen, not a butcher. She still believes there is a line between the two, and she is right. But she has already burned a chained man to make a point, and the line is not where she thinks it is. For when the masters would not confess, she had taken them down to the dragons and called it discipline. A good mother, she said, never gives up on her children. She disciplines them. Then she let the fire choose a man at random.
Tolion zágon kostos dau. Kinolorion mochenisa.
Into this faltering reign walks the cleverest man in the world. Tyrion Lannister, kinslayer, exile, drunk, sent across the sea by Varys to find the queen worth serving. She makes him her advisor, while he can still speak in sentences. Over wine, they take each other's measure. Two terrible children of two terrible fathers. And when Tyrion asks what she truly wants, she names the great houses of Westeros and the wheel they have turned for centuries, crushing the small.
I'm not going to stop the wheel. I'm going to break the wheel.
Break the wheel. It is the most quoted line she ever speaks, and it sounds like salvation. But hear it again. Not mend the wheel, not reshape it. Break it. The vision is total, and it has no room for the things that survive. A liberator destroys what is in the name of what ought to be. That is her whole story, and it is a kind of greatness. But a ruler must live inside what is. Daenerys has never learned to. She only ever knows how to break. The reopened games are her peace offering to Meereen. She sits enthroned in white above the sand, watching men die for the city's amusement, and she cannot hide her disgust. The compromise has bought her nothing. It only waits to detonate. Then the masks come out. The sons of the Harpy fall on the arena in their hundreds, gold-faced, knives drawn, and the games become a slaughter. Her court fights toward her through the screaming crowd. They are driven down onto the killing floor. Daenerys, in her white gown, is surrounded, cornered in the open ring as the masks close from every side. Her city has finally caught her. There is no way out. And then the sky tears open. Drogon descends into the pit and burns. He sets the killers alight where they stand, scattering them in flame. And the arena that meant to murder her becomes a furnace. She climbs onto his back. She speaks one word of High Valyrian, and the dragon lifts her out of the carnage and into the open sky, while her court stands in the emptied pit and watches her go. Fire has saved her. Again. Note the shape of it. Governing failed her. Justice failed her. Compromise failed her. The masters wanted her dead, and what answered in the end was not a policy. It was a dragon, and it burned them. Drogon carries her far from Meereen and sets her down, exhausted, in an empty grassland. She is a queen with no city, no army, no escort, only a sluggish dragon who will not fly. So she does the thing she has done all her life. She walks. A khalasar finds her on the open plain. Thousands of riders, circling in until she is swallowed whole. The mother of dragons, breaker of chains, is taken prisoner by the people who first made her a queen. They march her on foot, hands bound, the punchline of the riders' jokes. To them, she is a curiosity, pale hair, blue eyes, a foreign woman to be mocked or worse. Every title she has ever earned counts for nothing here. There is one law that protects her. A Khal's widow belongs to the Dosh Khaleen, the sisterhood of dead Khal's wives, walled in the holy city of Vaes Dothrak to live out her days. They will not kill her. They will simply erase her. In the firelit temple, the elder widows strip her of her royal garments and tell her, calmly, that her fate is not hers to choose. The Khals will gather. The Khals will decide. A queen, reduced once more to a thing other people bargain over. They meant the temple to be the place where she ended. She turned it into the place where she began again. The Khals assemble in the great temple, and they bring her in to be judged. They debate her price, sell her to Yunkai or keep her, and they laugh, and they promise her things no woman should have to hear. And Daenerys does not flinch.
Vos mana vos khal. Ana voka ki yeri. Vos ma an have drek.
Then she puts her hands to the great iron braziers and pulls. The temple goes up around her, wood, smoke, screaming. The coals burn where they stand, and she stands among them, calm, untouched, the only thing the fire will not eat. She walks out of the inferno, naked and unburnt, the temple collapsing in fire behind her, and the entire Dothraki nation falls to its knees. It is, on its face, magnificent. It is also the most dangerous thing that has ever happened to her, because look at the pattern she cannot see. In the funeral pyre, fire made her a mother of dragons. In this temple, fire makes her queen of the Dothraki. Twice now, fire has made her a queen. She has learned the wrong lesson. Twice. The lesson she takes is that fire is the answer. That when ruling becomes impossible, the flames will deliver her a throne and a worshipping crowd. It has never once failed her. And that is exactly the problem. She returns to her Khalasar astride Drogon, and from the dragon's back, she does not ask the Dothraki to follow her. She tells them, cross the sea, tear down the stone houses, take her the 7 kingdoms. Back in Meereen, the Masters lay siege to her city, and when Tyrion counsels patience, she answers that she will crucify them, burn their fleets, and raze their cities to the dirt. The first instinct is always the fire, and it is Tyrion who speaks the warning aloud. Her father kept caches of wildfire beneath King's Landing, ready to burn every man, woman, and child in it. The advisor is telling the queen what she sounds like. She hears him. She holds the impulse. This time. She lets her dragons burn only the Master's fleet, and not the city, and the Masters surrender. It is restraint, but it is restraint borrowed from an advisor, not grown from within. With the city held, the alliances come. The Greyjoys arrive with 100 ships, and a vow to leave the world better than their fathers did. And Daenerys, who could not govern one city, now has a fleet to carry her to 7 kingdoms. And there is one last sign, quiet enough to miss. She sends away Daario, the man who loves her, and confesses to Tyrion that she felt nothing. No grief, only impatience to get on with the conquest. Act 3 ends with the fleet she always wanted, finally on the move. Dragons overhead, Westeros on the horizon. She has everything. And she has learned nothing she did not already believe. When ruling gets hard, reach for the fire. She crossed the narrow sea at last, and the woman who came to free Westeros began, quietly, to conquer it. Dragonstone, the ancestral seat of House Targaryen, the rock she was born on, the rock she fled before she could remember it. After a lifetime of exile, the fleet of the Dragon Queen comes home to an empty island. She comes ashore and kneels in the black sand of her birthplace, letting it run through her fingers. It is a quiet, almost holy moment. The girl who owned nothing now stands on her own ground. She walks the cold halls Stannis Baratheon abandoned, past a tattered stag banner left rotting in the gloom. Every conqueror who held this rock before her is gone. She crosses to the painted map of Westeros and lets her hand drift across the kingdom she has come to take. But the homecoming brings no warmth. Standing at the table with her advisors, she admits it aloud. Being back, does not feel like coming home. Westeros is a country she was raised to want and has never once seen. Watch how she greets the man who has served her loyally for years. She demands Varys account for every king he ever turned against. And then she extracts an oath, not of friendship, but of fear.
And I swear this, if you ever betray me, I'll burn you alive.
She means it as a vow of justice. Look me in the eye, tell me when I fail. But the bargain only runs one way. He may warn her. She may burn him. It is the language of a ruler who has decided that loyalty is owed, not earned. The War Council fills with allies: Greyjoy and Dornish, Tyrell and Sand. Tyrion lays out a careful, bloodless plan. A Westerosi siege, no foreign hordes, no firestorms. Daenerys agrees. She is not here, she insists, to be Queen of the Ashes. But old Olenna Tyrell has buried 2 kings and a grandson. She pulls Daenerys aside and offers the advice that will outlive her. The clever men will fail you. Stop being a sheep. Be a dragon. And then the king in the north arrives. Jon Snow comes for dragonglass and an army. He does not come to kneel. From the first moment, 2 rulers who need each other measure each other instead. She reminds him that the last king in the north bent the knee to her ancestor and swore fealty in perpetuity. To Daenerys, this is not opinion, it is law. Westeros belongs to her by right, and Jon is in breach of a centuries-old oath he never made.
Father was an evil man. On behalf of House Targaryen, I ask your forgiveness for the crimes he committed against your family.
It is a fair plea, and an honest one. Her father burned Jon's family alive. She asks not to be measured by that crime. Hold the plea in your mind. In 2 episodes, she will burn a father and a son of her own. She tells him her story to make him understand. Born in exile, sold, chained, betrayed, defiled. What kept her standing was faith in herself. She was born to rule the 7 kingdoms, she says, and she will. Note the certainty. Not, I deserve to rule. Not, I will earn it. Born to. A throne owed by blood, by destiny, by prophecy. It is the same certainty her father carried to the pyre and her brother to the molten crown. When Jon will not yield, she names it plainly. By crowning himself, he stands in open rebellion against the rightful queen. He asks if he is her prisoner. Not yet, she answers. Not yet. Then Cersei begins to win. Euron Greyjoy ambushes her fleet at sea. Her Dornish allies are dead or in chains. Casterly Rock falls into a trap. The careful, bloodless plan collapses, one province at a time. On the beach, frustrated and bleeding allies, she rounds on Tyrion. His clever plans have cost her Dorne, the Iron Islands, the Reach. She accuses her hand of being soft on his own family, and decides she has waited long enough. She turns to Jon for counsel. And Jon, who has watched ambition curdle into cruelty before, gives her the warning that is the spine of this whole story. Do not become, he tells her, just another tyrant who melts castles and burns cities. She holds her temper. She does not promise. And she does not listen. And so she stops waiting for clever men. She takes the dragon, takes the Dothraki, and finds the Lannister army on the road by the Blackwater Rush, a column of wagons heavy with gold and grain, and the men guarding it. The fire comes, and it is total. A wall of flame swallows the shield wall, men and horses burning in the smoke. The battle is a triumph, but mark the line she has just crossed. In Essos, she burned slavers and masters. These are soldiers, conscripts, farmers handed a spear. From a distant ridge, Tyrion watches his own people burn, and his face does not look like a man celebrating a victory. It looks like a man beginning to understand who he has chosen. After the battle, the survivors knelt before her. 2 men did not. The Lannister soldiers who survived are herded onto an outcrop, Drogon coiled behind her like a verdict. She tells them she is nothing like Cersei. She means to break the wheel. And then she gives them the same offer she once gave to slavers. Most of the men kneel. But Randyll Tarly steps forward and refuses. He has a queen already, he says. It is not treachery, it is the opposite. He will not trade his honor for his life. He simply will not break his oath. Tyrion intervenes. Send him to the wall, he urges. Banishment, not death. A mercy that costs her nothing. But then young Dickon Tarly steps up beside his father and refuses to abandon him.
Your Grace, nothing scrubs bold notions from a man's head like a few weeks in a dock cell.
Over the open objection of her own hand, she pronounces the sentence herself. I, Daenerys of House Targaryen, sentence you to die. And she gives the word.
You stop beheading entire
I'm
families.
not beheading anyone.
Tyrion saw it first. He flinched when no one else would. Because the men in the fighting pits of Meereen were slavers, they had earned the fire. These were just men who lost a battle and would not betray their queen. The difference is the whole difference. This is the pivot. Not a snap, a slide. The liberator who broke chains and the conqueror who burns the loyal are the same woman on the same morning. The brick is laid. Everyone present saw it. Back on the Dragonstone cliffs, something gentler stirs. Jon Snow reaches out, bare-handed, and touches the snout of Drogon, and the dragon lets him. Daenerys watches. The man who would not kneel has been accepted by her oldest child, and in a quiet moment, she names the cost herself. She speaks of unease, of having fewer enemies after burning men alive. The conscience is still there. It is simply being overruled a little more each time by the certainty of the crown. Then word comes from beyond the wall. Jon led a raid into the lands of the dead to capture proof of the Night King, and the raid is surrounded, dying on a frozen lake. Tyrion begs her to do nothing. She refuses. She flies north with all 3 dragons, and for one blazing moment, she is the liberator again. Sweeping over the ice, burning the dead by the 100, reaching down to haul living men onto Drogon's back. This is who she wants to be. And then, across the smoke, the Night King lifts an ice spear. She is reaching down for the last of the men. She does not see it coming. The spear strikes Viserion in the throat. He screams once and falls, crashing through the ice in a burst of water and snow. Daenerys watches her child die. She has called the dragons her children for 6 seasons. Now she learns what that costs. She lingers at Eastwatch in the cold, refusing to leave without Jon. And when the dead drag Viserion beneath the lake, something begins to harden. This is the first loss she cannot undo. There will be others. Each one will take a little more mercy with it. In the ship's cabin, sailing south, Jon apologizes for her dragon. She tells him she does not regret the journey. Seeing the dead made her believe. And then she says the line that will doom her. The dragons are the only children she will ever have.
Now I know. The dragons are my children. They're the only children I'll...
In that grief, Jon offers what no other man has. He takes her hand, names her his queen, and the bond becomes love. She tells him she hopes she deserves his loyalty. For a moment, the war pauses, but beneath the love, a fault line is opening. Far away, Bran Stark speaks the truth into the dark. The man in her bed was never a bastard. Rhaegar and Lyanna were wed. His name is Aegon Targaryen, and he, not she, is the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. She does not know it yet. But the throne she was born to claim already has a closer claimant, and he is the only man she has ever loved. The conqueror has eclipsed the liberator, and the thing that will finish the work is not an enemy. It is the truth. Everything she was promised arrives now. The throne, the war, the fire. And it costs her every reason she ever had to be merciful. Winterfell. For the first time, Daenerys arrives somewhere as a stranger. Her dragons wheel over the keep, and the crowd that should cheer a queen only stares at the sky in fear. In Meereen, she was Mysa, mother, liberator, the woman the freed carried on their hands. In the north, she is an occupier with a foreign army. The love that fed her for 8 years is simply not here. In the Great Hall, the northern lords do not bend the knee to her. They bend it, grudgingly, to Jon. She has crossed the world with 2 dragons and an army, and she is still, somehow, the outsider in the room. She tells Sansa the truth without flinching. Her whole life was aimed at one chair and at vengeance on the family that destroyed her own. It is the most honest she has ever been. It does not earn her a single ally.
What about the North?
Apologies, my lady. Your Grace.
What is it?
The warmth lasts exactly until Sansa asks, what becomes of the North once the throne is won? Daenerys has no answer that is not mine. Even the people who try to like her can feel the chains she means to forge. Then the dead come, and the world narrows to one freezing night. The Battle of Winterfell. She rides Drogon into the storm, and for the first time, the fire that always obeyed her is not enough. Thrown from her dragon, cornered in the snow, she gives the order that has cleared every obstacle of her life. Dracarys. A wall of dragon fire, and the Night King walks out of it untouched. And so, on foot, a queen with no fire left fights for her life. And Jorah Mormont steps between her and the dead. He has loved her since the first season of her story. He has been her conscience, her brake, the man who pulled her back from the edge. He dies in the snow with her arms around him. Remember Act 1. Jorah was the first tether. The long night cuts it. The one man who could tell her no is gone. At dawn, she kneels over him alone. Not a queen mourning a knight, a woman losing the last person who loved her without wanting anything in return. They burn the dead on pyres against the cold dusk. Fire, the thing she has worshipped since the first season, now consuming the only friend who ever told her the truth. She watches it take him and says nothing. In Act 2, the House of the Undying showed her a room. The Iron Throne, the roof torn open, ash falling like snow. We told you to hold it. From here, every step she takes walks toward that room. She has buried a son once before. Rhaego, the child the witch took in Act 1. Her dragons are the children she has left. She named them for the dead. Rhaegal for the brother she never met. Off the coast of Dragonstone, Euron Greyjoy's fleet is waiting. A scorpion bolt finds Rhaegal in the open sky. He folds and falls, and the sea closes over him. Her second child, dead in seconds. Count what the last war has taken. A friend, a dragon, the North's respect. Each loss is a wall coming down, and behind every wall is the same thing. The grief she was never allowed to put down. Then Cersei takes the last one. Missandei, freed by Daenerys from a slaver's block, her oldest companion, her truest friend, is captured and dragged in chains to the walls of King's Landing. Given the chance for last words, Missandei does not beg. She looks down at the queen she loves, and she chooses the one word Daenerys taught the world. Listen.
Dracarys!
Dracarys. Seasons ago, that word burned a slaver in Astapor and set a city free. It was mercy with teeth. Now it comes back as a dead woman's farewell and as an instruction. The word that freed the world is now the word that ends it. She did not change its meaning. She only ran out of reasons not to use it. And there is one cruelty left. The man she loves carries a better claim to her throne than she does. Aegon Targaryen, the rightful heir, raised under another name. Jon does not want it. It undermines her all the same. She asks him for love, and he cannot give it. So she makes a decision, out loud, that the whole film has been waiting for. If she cannot be loved, she will be feared. That is not madness. That is a woman with nothing left, choosing the only power she has ever trusted. Varys writes to undermine her. She burns him. Tyrion begs for the innocents. She overrules him. Jon withholds his love. She stops asking. One by one, every voice that ever softened her goes quiet or goes to the fire. This is the loneliest she has ever been. Not in Pentos, sold by her brother, not in the Red Waste, starving. Here, with an army at her back and a crown in reach. She is finally, completely alone. King's Landing. She comes for it the way she has come for every city, on a dragon with fire. Drogon shatters the scorpions on the walls and breaks the gate towers wide open. The defense collapses in minutes. And then the Lannister army does the one thing that should end it. They throw down their swords. The city sounds the bells, the agreed signal of surrender. The war is over. She has won.
Remember the Tarleys? A father and son who surrendered and burned anyway, back in Act 4. Remember the masters she nailed to crosses. Surrender has never once stopped her. The bells are ringing. Listen to what she does with them.
Her grandfather was the Mad King. He hid wildfire under the streets of this city, and he was killed to stop him burning it. 2 generations later, his granddaughter finished the work, from the air, with a dragon after the surrender. She did not snap over the city. She decided in a quiet room on Dragonstone days earlier that fear would have to do. King's Landing only gave the decision a stage. On the steps of the ruined Red Keep, she addresses her armies, and at last says plainly what breaking the wheel always meant. Not freeing the world, conquering it. She will not lay down her spears until every corner of the earth is hers. Tyrion throws down his pin and calls it what it is. She has him arrested. The last advisor, the last break, the last voice. Gone. There is no one left in the world who can tell this queen no. And then she walks into the Red Keep, to the throne room, alone. Snow drifts down through a roof that the fire tore open. Ash settles on the cracked stone. She finally reaches the throne. The room is exactly as she saw it 8 years ago. The vision was never a promise, it was a warning, and she walked toward it every single day. She stands before the Iron Throne and reaches for it, the way a child reaches for something long promised. 1,000 swords of fallen enemies, the chair she crossed the world to take. She does not get to sit in it.
We're a little boy with a bastard's name. And I was a little girl who couldn't count to 20. We do it together. We break the wheel together.
Jon comes to her in the ruins. She asks him to build the new world with her, to break the wheel together, the promise that has driven her for 5 acts. She names him her king. And in the same breath, he puts a knife into her heart. She dies in his arms at the foot of the chair, in the snow and the ash. The girl who was sold in Act 1, who learned in Act 1 that fire obeyed her, gone. Beneath the throne she could not stop walking toward. Drogon comes for her. He nudges his dead mother and rears and turns his fire not on the man who killed her, but on the thing that did. The Iron Throne melts into a pool of slag. Seed A pays off, fire unmaking a false crown.
The lesson she first watched at her brother's execution, finished at last.
The dragon lifts her body in his talons and carries her away, and the kingdom she wanted is rubble behind him. No one snapped. No one went mad in an instant. We watched a sold girl become a tyrant across 8 years, and we called every step of it heroism. Until the last one. She crossed the world for a chair. In the end, the only fire that mattered was the one that unmade it. She broke every chain she ever found, except the one she was born in.